Absolute banger at 135 pounds. We have Mayhem, Nate Maness taking on Tony Gravely, and what an interesting fight it is, because for Nate Maness coming into the UFC, I had no sweet clue what this guy was going to be good at. I mean, I went back, I watched his fight against Taylor Lapilus with TKO, and I went, okay, he's not that great, he's not that special, and then he gets a win against Kellen Van Camp, who's 3-2, and then he ends up in the UFC against Kid Kvenbo, Johnny Munoz, and okay, well, he didn't really beat him that convincingly, and I kind of thought Johnny Munoz won that fight because he was a little bit more offensive, so I really kind of tried to boil it down. What's Nate Maness good at? Being defensive and good behind the black line? Okay, so then he goes out there and he fights Luke Sanders, and Sanders blows his load in the first round, and Maness takes over in the second round, so now I come into this fight, and I still don't have a great idea of what Nate Maness is good at. Can he strike from distance? Sure. Is he a good defensive grappler? Yeah, he gets neat submissions. Apart from that, I just have a really hard time. I mean, he's got a nice leg kick. I just have a really hard time. He gives up a lot of space, unless the guy's really tired. For Tony Gravely, what can I tell you? One of the better wrestlers you're going to find in MMA, because he just goes to the well and goes to the well and goes to the well. And in his last fight, he had the wherewithal to go, okay, I'm taking on Anthony Burchak. The guy's a little bit crafty, and you saw that in the first round of that fight. Gravely gets him down. He gets him in a bad position. And then Burchak reverses it. Then he gets him into a guillotine. He pulls guard. He pulls really tight. But ultimately, Gravely knocks him down in the first round, and he knocks him down in the second round and earns the knockout. That's a performance of the night bonus for him. And listen, he's a guy that has known the bonuses. He got a fight of the night bonus when he took on Brett Johns. So for me, Gravely is an interesting guy because I think his hands have continued to get better. He's a guy at 29, he's a week away from his 30th birthday, so happy early birthday to Tony Gravely, but 27 pro fights, and a guy that wasn't just content training at American Top Team in Atlanta, made the move down to Florida, and he's trained with some great training partners there. I know that was a big aspect of his interview with JHK going into that fight against Burchak was, hey, I'm making these gains, I want to show off these new tools that I've learned from my teammates, and automatically, hey, good striking in that one. So I really do have a tough time with this fight because I could see it going either way.
It should be a really fun fight. For Gravely, it's interesting. He's kind of the poster boy at this point for wrestling yourself into exhaustion because he's just done it so many times. And yes, he does have a great takedown repertoire, I guess. He's very diverse with the types of takedowns he can go for. He does have, of course, a great power double leg. He can lift opponents up past his head like he's a prime Cain Velasquez and slam them down. But the issue is that when you go for big actions like that, when you do get big takedowns like that, it takes a lot of energy. And Gravely's one of those guys who, I take you down, I take you down, I take you down. I'm doing good work. And yes, he can win not only minutes, not only moments, but rounds that way. He just kind of finds a way to lose the fight. It's kind of like Chael Sonnen. It was always, I just kept on finding a way to lose the big fight. That was the thing. He'll look good, especially in that top position, like I mentioned. But the thing is, after he does pass I'm not going to give you a minutes threshold. I'm going to give you like a 10 takedown attempts threshold because that really is the key for Gravely. I do like how his striking has improved because now he's finding ways to explode into the pocket. It's not just I have to reach my hands down and reach for takedowns. He's finding the way to close the distance with his hands. And I'm not going to say it's just like Chad Mendes, but he's starting to incorporate some Mendes-esque like portions into his game, and that's something that you love to see for someone with the wrestling of Gravely. This just will be a really interesting fight because for Maness, you know how good his jiu-jitsu is. I myself underrated it going into that Luke Sanders fight because, hey, I thought Luke Sanders was going to win a lot of fights in the UFC, and it just never really worked out for him. But he's one of those fighters that Gravely has traditionally struggled with in the past, where, okay, I'm taking you down, I'm having success in top position, and the next thing you know, you go for like a leg lock that forces me to give my back, it creates a scramble, next thing you know, Maness has Gravely's back and he's choking him out. I just think Gravely has reached the point in his career where now he can at least inflict damage if he's not getting the takedown. I do think he can win moments on the feet against Maness, but that's what this fight comes down to. I think Gravely can go out there and win maybe even the first 2 rounds, and then go out there and find a way to lose in the third round. For Maness, it'll be interesting. I don't know how much success he will have on the back foot in this fight, because if he's reacting a lot to what Gravely's doing, then that will leave him open to the takedown. That will leave him open to the big shot, and it won't really let his own game flow, which is let my hands go a little bit, volume strike to a certain degree. I think this is a really interesting fight. I do think Maness has a huge opportunity, because I don't really think Nate Maness is at the point to where he should be fighting a guy like Tony Gravely. Tony Gravely, at least to me, has proved that he's in that, like, I don't want to say 15's the ceiling of his cap, but can I say like 22 to 30 range maybe? Like, I think he's at least going in there with former top 15 guys, and I do think this should be a really entertaining fight, though.
For Gravely, I gotta be honest, I think it's lazy to say that the gas tank's such an issue, because, I mean, I look at the losses. He lost to Pat Sabatini in his second pro fight. He lost to Ricky Bandejas. He lost to Marab. He lost to Manny Bermudez. He lost to Patchy Mix. These are all on the regional scene, and then since that Patchy Mix loss in 2018, he's only lost one fight to Brett Johns near the end, but he beat James Quigg, Bruno Fajeda, Draco Rodriguez, Cody Nordby, Chris Moutinho that you know and love. That was a 5-round fight. Darren Mima, Ray Rodriguez, who were at 7, Geraldo de Freitas, Anthony Burchak, and he was supposed to fight Nate Maness not that long ago. It ended up Burchak stepped in on short notice to take the fight. And I've seen just these marked improvements in Gravely. Yeah, he is the type of guy that wrestles and wrestles and wrestles in his UFC tenure. And what? That's 3 fights. 6.11 takedowns per 15 minutes is the average at a 54% clip for Nate Maness. 88% is his takedown defense through, 2 UFC fights? That's it. I wrote down the fights just if we wanted to have fun. But again, Kid Kvenbo was able to kind of have a little bit of success. He ends up with 2 takedowns. Luke Sanders went for what? He got 0 for 1, and Munoz got 2 of 16. 2 of 16. So, I mean, Maness has been able to kind of thwart the takedown attempt. But, man, Tony Gravely is one of those guys that, like, he just keeps on a-coming. It's like the train. It's like the wind. It's like the tide. It just keeps coming. Now, I know you've struggled with erosion on the show, and I keep slighting you. So I'm going to give you a net positive here. Gravely, yeah, is he going to be a top 15 guy? I don't know. I could say the exact same thing about Nate Maness, and this is one of those, like, gut check type of fights. Like, this really is going to determine their entire UFC path in this one.
That's why I've got to side with the experience factor of Gravely. He's been in there with guys at least somewhat similar to Maness in the past. And again, he has the key, which is the wrestling. I really do think Maness has to get into some kind of a grappling exchange to win this fight. And yes, there will be takedowns in this fight. Don't get me wrong. This will not just be a striking affair. But Gravely has the key, if you will, to decide whether or not this fight takes place on the feet or on the mat. And I do think that's why he's going to be able to win this fight. If he's having success on the feet, then he's the one who can decide, okay, this is now going to be a kickboxing fight. And if he is starting to get boxed up a little bit on his entries, then he can decide, okay, we're now taking this to the mat. Now, I wouldn't like that part of the game plan as much as I would like him winning on the feet. But I do think Gravely's experience will be able to win this one for him.
Tony Gravely, open to minus 225. He's now minus 191 over in best fight odds. For Nate Maness, open to plus 190. He's now plus 157. Does any of that surprise you?
Not really. Again, I really do think that the experience factor of Gravely is a massive X factor for him in this fight. And for Maness, again, there is still somewhat of an unknown out there. Like you said, it is just kind of hard to give you a great assessment of his skill set. But I've liked what I've seen out of Gravely so far. And like you said, he's made improvements throughout his UFC tenure, and you can't say enough about that.
The Tapology votes, they're surprised to us. They are to you. 958 total votes, 54% Maness, 75% by decision. For the 46% that have Gravely, 57% by decision, 31% by knockout. I like Tony Gravely in this fight, but again, Maness is going to have a 5-inch height advantage, a little bit of an advantage in the reach as well. Is Gravely going to be able to box himself into that distance where he's able to own the fight? I'm assuming so. I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not a clairvoyant, but that's what I'm going with here.
Yeah, I agree.
Matt, really leaving a cliffhanger there. If you like Nate Maness in this fight, if you like Tony Gravely in this fight, you let us know down below in the comments section. Both of us going Gravely here. 15 total fights. We got a lot of them coming up. You're not going to want to miss, so keep locked in with Fight Night picks. And as we always say, let's get into it.